Anybody?
Kevin? Jim? Okay.
I second. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Perfect. Thank you. All in favor of the approval of the meeting minutes for September 25th, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. With that said, with that approval, we'll move on now to the NBAR members informational briefing. Has anybody had any contact with supervisors, applicants, county staff?
Nope.
Okay. We'll move on now to item number 6, the staff update.
Morning. Nothing at this time. Thank you. It's nice to be here. Nice to see. I see that Bobby's here too, so that's a good thing. And I appreciate your attendance and the professionalism in which you run NBAR. Thank you.
Thank you very much, man. Okay. And I am assuming that everyone has turned in their conflict of interest information and forms. Hearing silence, we'll move on to the standard agenda item. Number 1, BAR 00124, the Zakor detached patio cover and staircase. Please go ahead and introduce yourselves for the record, and we'll go ahead and get started on this item.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jason Akra. I'm the architect for this project. And if you allow me, first of all, I want to thank you for doing this. Really, it helps a lot. And I believe it's going to be the way to do it even after the corona, because everyone is getting used to it. So should I share my screen with you so I can explain what we're doing with the project?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's see. Oh, no. See how to do that. I'm new to this, so I'm just trying to get it. I'm sorry if I'm taking a long time. Where do I go back? Are you able to see any my screen?
I'm not.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay. Ah.
Seen your internet browser with Zoom open. But if you continue to have issues, I have the plans open. So just let me know if you want me to share my screen.
I'm unable to do it for some reason, but
Was that your team member?
That was Tina Mitchell, the planner on the
I
project.
think
Tina,
Okay.
would you, if you wish, just go ahead and give her permission, unless you want to keep trying here.
Just one sec. Okay, fine. All right, go ahead and try, Tina.
Lock it down, get it screwed in tight, hold it back. So sometime we gotta get up there and fold it one way on the back. It's way
There we go. We got it.
undrop it that way, because it's too short. Yeah, I got that.
okay. So basically, our work is going to be in the backyard of the house. As you can see here, this is the street and this is the existing house right here. And the backyard of the house, it goes back sloping down towards the creek, kind of like dry creek, I believe. And it's a gentle slope. You're going to be able to see the sections in a little bit. So what we have right now in the same location of this patio, we have an existing trellis. So we're proposing to remove the trellis and have a covered patio. Is going to be just adjacent to the house. It's not going to be attached to it. It's going to be like there is a small space basically for the rain. And then what we're proposing to do, we're expanding this half circle where it's going to be level with the backyard. And then we're going with 2 staircases to the lower level pad where we're going to have permeable pavement. And then when we get the retaining wall, that's going to be kind of like a waterfall where the water will be coming down. If you don't mind, Tina, to show the picture on top, just right the same page. That will explain. So basically, this is the circle on that retaining wall all along. We're going to have some kind of like a water where it comes down to this small pond. And we're going to have like all structural glass for the view just to keep it kind of transparent. And also the last thing I want to say, from the one side of the neighbor, we have the existing septic system, which is we stayed away from the property line to start this wall by 30 feet, that section right there. And from the other side, we left 10 feet away where we're gonna start. And this section of the wall basically is gonna be just stepping down toward the level of the pad. And the maximum height I have is almost 9 feet of the height of the wall. So in a way, if you don't mind, Tina, to look at the sections, which is the last sheet. Yes. Okay, so if you can see, we have the existing patio, the new patio right there, and that we try to have the pad where we're gonna have some fill here, and then that level here, we balance the cut and fill where we don't have to export or import any dirt, which is gonna be just enough for it. So that's the section for, I'm cutting before the circle, and there's the other one showing through that circle where we're doing. So basically that is the retaining wall right there, you can see. And that's where the water, we're gonna have like the waterfall and the pond, and that's the level area we are proposing with the staircase. So I'm done with the explanation. If you have any question for me, please go ahead.
Can you point out on the plan where the retaining wall is onto the left side of the staircase? Is that number 2 there?
Yes. No, actually, no, it is.
Well,
Actually, yeah,
actually
that's exactly the retaining wall, yes.
yeah, and then on the other side is as well.
The same, yes. It's gonna be on both sides.
Well, my initial comment, that's it's probably at least 10 feet from the top of the footing to the top of the masonry wall.
Well, yeah, it's about 9 feet actually, yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw that in the section.
Yes.
That's going to be very tricky to build right close to the house there.
Well,
because
I
you're going
mean,
to have to cut the slope back to meet the
yes,
Cal OSHA requirements for the layback on the slope side.
yeah. But in a way, the slope, as you can see in the elevation, is really not that. I mean, it's kind of not steep, but yeah, it's gonna. And also, like on one side is really far from the house because we have the trailers right now in the backyard.
Right. Mhm.
So we have only one section, which is where we have the other trailers that might be a little close to one part of it, but the rest should, it's just a backyard in a way.
Okay. And then along each side of the lower patio, you're stepping the wall down along with the contour.
Yes, because we have, the dirt is gonna stay the same level, so we're stepping it along with the contour lines.
Okay.
As part of your package, we were given a Google Earth link,
Mhm.
and I had a couple questions with regards to that. Below your project is a single family house that is serviced by a private or county maintained road. Do you know, is that a county maintained road?
Where, below?
Yeah, below, servicing the single family house below you.
I believe there is a creek if you.
Right, there's the creek, and then across the creek is a house,
There is a road or no?
and there is a road that services that house and a couple other houses. I was just curious if that is a county maintained road.
I'm not sure actually.
Secondly, with 101 in the distance, can we actually see the patio cover from 101?
I think it's pretty far away from it, but it is possible. But I mean, from when you're sitting on the deck or in the backyard, you could see the freeway. But I don't know if you can see from the freeway to it. I doubt it, but I'm not sure.
Well, I was just asking if you can see it from the backyard, then they can see you.
Yeah, but I mean, you could see it. I mean, not that close as you are. Like when you're driving by on the freeway, you see a lot of homes far away from it. So that's the same way we see it.
Right. I mean,
Not
the
sure
reason
it's
I
going
was,
to be that clear view of it.
Is it
The reason-
possible to see that on the Google Earth drawing or map? I think
yeah, part of on today's agenda, you were given a link. Actually, all the agenda items have a Google Earth image link to it.
Let's
And
see.
my question was with regards to the several smaller roads in that area, and then its proximity to 101. But if you can see the freeway from the patio backyard, then 101 is a view corridor.
I mean,
to
you
this
could see the
particular
distance
project.
if you zoom in, or if you zoom out. We can see the distance of the freeway. That's 1,500 feet, huh? Or 1,473 feet, right?
1,500. That's about 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah.
I was just trying to establish view corridors.
That's a little over a quarter of a mile, Steve.
And also one more thing, like, because it
You're right.
slopes down, so you really cannot see, I mean, because it slopes down, so everything is gonna be covered with that wall that we're gonna step down. So you pretty much can see the patio only from the freeway, supposed to.
Tina, this is Steve. What is the zoning of that property, the green area between the residence and the freeway?
Is that Quayside?
Yeah.
Isn't that Quayside 3, the big residential project that we looked at?
Correct. Yeah.
So. I have a question for Tina, if she's available.
Yeah, I'm here.
Tina, in your memo, you cited a couple development standards. Did you have concerns for the views on those, or
So
was
I
that just
did-
relevant?
Yeah, so I just wanted to like make sure you guys were aware of its proximity to the 101, and it sounds like you are considering that. When you're driving from the south, I feel like you could probably spot the house. I don't know if the new construction will be visible, but it's kind of hard to see from like street view. But if you're actually driving from the south, it's a little easier to spot these houses over here. So that's why
Okay.
I included that development standard.
But if I understand you correctly, that area will be infilled with additional residential units sometime down the road.
Yep. Yeah, it's true.
That's the project, the area with the single-family homes with that set aside that's in the middle
Oh, right, correct.
with
I
the
remember that.
multi-story building. Are there any photographs of the house so that we can see context of what it looks like?
We can see it from Google Earth if you don't mind, Tina, right?
Well, I meant architecturally, like the elevations or anything like that. So
Yeah, I do have, I mean, you can see it on the plans, and I have some, yeah, you can see, I mean, I drew the elevation, and you can see the house. If you could see the house right there in the back of the patio, that's pretty much it.
So it's
I mean,
entirely one
this
story,
is a
correct?
side, and then we have the front, which is gonna be on the second sheet. If you can see that this is here, the patio, the proposed patio, and that's the house in the back. Exactly how it looks right now. And just, you know, tile roof and stucco.
And so only the roof covering will match the house,
Yes,
and the exposed wood that is existing is just the flat trellis next to the bedroom.
yeah, there is an exposed trellis, which is, if you see on the left, that's the
Right.
existing is gonna stay, and we're gonna match the same wood with the new patio. But the patio is gonna have, you know, the tile similar to the house, basically.
Okay.
Are you
We're
going to
even
change?
matching it with the knee bracing, so they look the same.
Do you have plans to redo that trellis, the existing trellis, or is it going to remain as is?
The existing trellis we're not touching. We're keeping it the same. This is existing right now.
And then the reason you've made this new trellis a hip roof and, you know, made it taller than the existing trellis that's out there was,
No, the trellis, I mean by trellis, it's open, just like this one. This is open. They have just beams on top and like, you know, it's open. There is no
Or a lattice type of structure.
lattice. Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
okay.
So this one's gonna have just cover because they wanted like a space to be able to sit under when it's raining or something.
Is there a section through the new trellis structure?
Yes,
Okay.
that's gonna be on the last sheet.
sheet number 3.
Okay, let me see which one. Yeah, you can see enlarged A.
Well,
This
that's more of an
okay,
elevation.
this
I
is-
was thinking of a section itself.
Yeah.
Well,
the
this
third
is a
space.
section of the circle area that's for the dirt, and that you could see the. But you know what? I have a section of the trellis on this sheet on the third one, please. Yeah, that's basically if you can see section A.
Okay,
That's
I believe this is in what we consider to be the high fire area. So there are some specific requirements that you need to be aware of in terms of construction in the high fire area, both timber size, exposed surfaces,
mhm.
non-combustible materials, that I would suggest you take a look at that. I don't think you'll be able to have exposed trusses up there, if I'm reading the drawing correctly.
Because they already have one already right now existing, and it was, I don't think it has been that old. It looked to me relatively new, but I mean, yeah, we can check that.
I suggest that you check into that
Absolutely.
before you submit your
Absolutely.
construction documents.
Absolutely, yes, sure. Yeah, in this section here, you could see we have kind of like a small covered attached patio to the house, and we are just putting our column right in front of it. And then we're going a little higher for the eave that the rain is gonna come on the existing roof. This way, you know, we don't mess with the existing house much, kind of.
I got a quick question for you. This is Bobby Jones. On that existing covered patio and your new hipped roof patio cover, we'll call it.
Mm-hmm.
How much separation do you have between those two?
Right now, I believe it's like 18 inches from the column of the existing column to the new column.
Okay. On the roof section though, from where the roofs are going to come together, are they going to come together at the same elevation, or is one going to be above the other one?
No, the proposed is going to be higher than the existing covered patio.
Okay.
I'm showing it on the same section we were.
Yeah,
There you go. Okay, I can see it there better now. Yeah. So, and hey, you've already run that through the structural engineer to make sure you have your clearances for lateral movement.
Yes.
Hi, this is Jim King. I got into this late because I had trouble with my microphone. Have we already discussed the retaining walls?
No, not specifically.
Well, up on the trellis, what size materials are you planning on using?
On the trellis?
Well, on the new structure you're building.
It's
Like
going
the
to be,
posts.
I'm matching the post, the same like the open one we have, which I believe it's 8 by 8.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to be doing the same post basically. And then, and the cover, the ceiling of it is gonna be TNG, where we're gonna have like kind of like wood.
Well, likely the TNG is going to have to be 2 inches thick, and you're going to have to use
Yeah, probably.
timber dimensions
Sure.
on
Yeah, I-
everything, and
I mentioned
eliminate.
those to him because of the high fire, that those
Yeah.
concerns were
Yeah, I'll check
realistic
on
here.
that, definitely. I mean,
Yeah,
Plus it'll-
there's
it'll look a
definitely
lot
some
better.
issue. Yeah, you're right.
Now the retaining walls are, well, first of all, let's look at the stairs. I just did a quick calc. They're 7.5-inch risers, which for an exterior stair is pretty steep. It's not very comfortable. And you've got almost 2-foot runs.
Yeah.
I'd look at the comfort range of stairs, exterior stairs. Usually 7.5 inches outside is kind of steep. Each side of that patio downstairs has a retaining wall on it. It's 4-sided retaining wall. Retaining walls each side, and they're huge. Have you tried any other kind of schemes to try to eliminate the amount of wall surface that you're going to have down there?
I mean, you know, the one you see in the face is gonna be 9 feet high.
Well, there's going to be there's going to be wall on top of that too, right?
No, I mean, this is the wall where it's gonna have a stone veneer, a stone on it. That's
Yeah, but
what
then
this-
there's going to be 3.5 feet of
I think it's glass up on the top, isn't it?
that's glass, yes.
so it's going to be curved glass coming down.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm still questioning the height of that. That's crazy high, and it's on 4 sides, and the bottom one is curved. Are you going to put glass on that one too?
Yes.
Seems like there's a lot better ways of doing this, but how are they planning on using that area downstairs?
I think they just want to have like a space for, you know, entertainment, or I don't know exactly what he's planning to do with it.
Well, if you find out what he wants to do, you can maybe come up with a better solution that doesn't require those. That's a lot of retaining walls, and very high, very tall. Steps need to be probably a little more gentle coming down. But that's a massive, the walls are huge. We generally never allow walls like that in a proposed house. And this is just for a patio. Those are my concerns.
No, well, I mean, this to create the pad is not for the patio. But what I'm trying to do, if you see, there is another line on this retaining wall where it's gonna break it. It doesn't look like one piece, which is gonna be like kind of like a pond for water to collect water. So that's gonna kind of break it. It's gonna be up like about 2 feet, two and a half, and then the rest will be, you know, also exposed. So that's kind of breaks it. Doesn't look massive, and with the stone veneer, I think it's gonna look more appealing, I would say.
Now it looks to me like your daylight line on there is about 564. So is that about right?
What do you mean by daylight?
Daylight's where the natural grade was on your patio.
Uh-huh.
The patio looks like it's about 564 according to your elevations. I mean, your
It
section.
starts at 564, yes.
So there's going to be quite a bit of it sticking out of the ground.
Actually,
tried
the
stepping
section
the-
I did is pretty accurate on where I end up with because I'm gonna have like on the lower pad, you know, at the end, I'm gonna have like a retaining wall around 6 feet, I believe, as I mentioned.
Have you tried
5'11".
stepping your retaining walls to minimize the height, get them down to 4, 5, 6 feet, 5 feet?
Well, see, the thing is, like, the reason I did it this way, because this way I am able to balance the dirt. But if I want to make it less, then I have to fill in a lot of dirt. And that's one reason I tried to do it this way in a way. But see, if you make it higher, then to be able to have a flat area, you're going to have to kind of, you know.
Well, that's my point is find out what it is they're going to do there. Maybe you don't need to have a gigantic single level patio.
I don't have a patio here. It's going to be just open space, kind of a pad.
Right. I called that a patio. And it's
And
it's
that's what the
paved.
owner asked for, huh?
Yeah. But there might be better solutions that isn't as, it's more in keeping with the slope of the property, and you don't end up with these gigantic walls.
Well, you know, Jim, in a wall in that range, it's going to probably have about a 7-foot wide plus footing.
Oh yeah. And it's going to cost a fortune.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of money here to you can play with all kinds of stuff. It just seems like this is a straightforward, simple solution that could be thought about a little bit more.
Does staff have any comment with regards to this project?
Tina, any additional thoughts on this?
Hi, this is Tina. I am a little confused by what you mean with the ponding. That isn't really indicated in the plans, and that could require additional review by planning. So if you are like planning to build some sort of pond or
Not a pond, Tina. It's if you see the section enlarged B,
Mhm.
you see that wall, the section of the wall, where it ends up down here. We're just no, that's the wall behind it. No, the other one. Sorry. You see where where you see 572.
Yeah, it looks like a planter, but he's going to put water in
It
it.
looks like a
Okay.
planter, but actually the idea is to have water dripping on the wall and collecting it here, and then it will recirculate, kind of.
Okay, like a
It's
fountain.
not a pond, really. It's like kind of like a water
Okay.
feature, just to make it, to break out the wall, kind of, and make it. look
Okay,
nice.
yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. I am aware of that part of the project. My only other comment was I did have concerns about the heights of the walls here. At first they were proposed right up against the property line, and that would have required a conditional use permit based on their height. But the architect has moved them out of the setback now. So it meets the code requirements, but it is subject to NBAR because of the hillside ridgeline. And then it's also good that it's here because of how close it is to the 101. But yeah, as we already mentioned, Key Site 3 is right next door, so that will be developed in the near future. That's my only comments.
I have one additional comment. This is Holly Owen too. I just am curious about the glass feature. Can you show me on this elevation where the glass walls will be at the bottom? Are they going to be in front of the wall of the water features that you're going to
No.
have?
If you Tina, if you don't mind looking at the picture I have on top, that will explain. Basically, instead of the railing, we're just doing that. So it's gonna be
On the
railing.
staircase. I see. Okay.
Yes, exactly like that.
All right.
It's also on the other retaining wall that's out farther.
I think that's a wood wall, or noted as a wood wall, Jim.
Is it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Wood fence. That's another issue.
Yeah.
It makes it taller. It's that's an 8 foot tall, 9 foot tall.
I mean, we can make it
Exposed.
glass if we need to, because I mean, for the lower one, we can have, I just put it for protection so people wouldn't
Well,
Die.
you would be required to have a guardrail.
Good.
Yeah, we can do some kind of like open guardrail, or we can continue with the same glass with that. I mean, that's not a big issue.
Will that be
Holly, you got cut off there.
Phew, thought it was me.
Right. Is that translucent glass or opaque glass or clear glass or?
Clear, it's gonna be clear. Actually, it's
Okay.
not glass. Let me clarify that because nowadays they're using kind of like acrylic one.
Uh-huh.
It's like pretty thick. And that's why on around the stairs, this kind of acrylic, you can have it bend like in a, you know, in a circular or round. So,
Okay, thank you.
To kind of go back to Jim's comments, if we're looking back at the enlarged section B, where we just were,
mhm.
you had indicated that the reason you have such a high wall was to balance the cut and fill.
Yes.
I was wondering if you considered using a less expensive alternative like Allen Block.
Like
and
what?
like Allen Block, and then step that entire area down. And rather than have large, your glass railing, you would not need railing if you
I
made
mean,
if you stepped it down just in a couple feet, or per and terrace that backyard. That way, you don't have a large retaining wall. You're not having the expense of what I'm assuming is going to be a very expensive acrylic railing.
And
then,
wood veneer, stone veneer too.
yeah, with the stone veneer. And then, I mean, going back to what Jim had asked, for the use of this area down in here, are they going to use that entire area which goes back to your water feature? Are they going to just use that front portion of it? So, I mean, just to bring down expense on this project, yes, the retaining wall is going to be very expensive. But if we were to use something that was less expensive, terrace that section down and still give them a large patio area or a flat area for entertainment, you can reduce the cost down dramatically.
yeah, I mean, I just want to mention, if you see the yellow line right there, this is the existing grade right now,
Right.
So
what I'm saying is if you put Allen Block wall where you show your 1 foot contours, or your 572, your 570, your 568, is that usable space for your clients, or can that be terraced for appearance?
But I mean, if
to
I have
soften the wall?
at 570, at 568, you said I put that, I didn't get it.
Yeah,
At what level you want me to put that?
Well, I was asking if you considered terracing that section in the back to reduce the requirements for a retaining wall, for an acrylic guardrail, and for the amount of stone that you're going to have to put back on the wall to soften it. Thereby, you can just use plant material, Allen Block, an Allen Block wall, and get that same softened effect without creating a large retaining wall, a tall retaining wall. If their requirement is to use the entire space, then that's your option.
I did this per owner's request, and he's aware of the cost of it, definitely, I'm sure. But one way we can do it is like, if that's something you guys don't accept, maybe we can just make that pad a little higher, and smaller, to reduce the retaining wall if there isn't a need for it. But for the cost and all of that, I think he's aware of it. The owner, I mean.
Mr. Chair, if I could interrupt, because it sounds like we're moving more towards questions to comments. I just want to remind the chair just to allow the opportunity for public comment at some point.
All right. Well, I pretty much said what I wanted to say. Does the board have additional comments at this time?
I do, if I could speak up. I'd like to see actual photographs of context around the site. When I look at the plan view and the existing pathway that's out there and the curve that's nearest to the PL, and then I look at the Google Earth image, I'm not convinced that all the vegetation, the major vegetation that's on the site is shown. So I'd either like to be able to make a site visit myself or have some photographs of what's there. The tree up closest to the house, honestly, I could be wrong, and I'll fully admit that. It doesn't look like an olive tree to me. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just clarify one thing. Actually, right now, there is no trees. These olive trees are all gone. I don't know, it was removed by whom, this new owner or the previous one. But actually what I did, everything else you see where we're not touching, pretty much, I don't see any olive trees. Most of it is olive trees. So originally when I did it per the survey I had. And then when I went to see the site after, the fact, I didn't see a lot of these trees. Definitely the one close to the house, and you see on Google, they're gone now. The olive trees. There is no olive trees whatsoever. So yeah, if you want to make a visit,
as you move further out on the slope, then I spend a lot of time looking at aerial photos, doing oak tree surveys and things like that. To me, there's a lot of missing information between the plan view and the Google Earth image.
Yes, but in reality, that tree you see on the olive, they're gone. I'm talking the one very close to the house. Definitely. I'm not sure about the rest. Yes.
Okay.
You can visit, or we can have the owner to send some pictures if you like.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kevin. I think we do need some clarification of what is actually there at this point, because there does seem to be a disconnect.
Yeah, and I'd like to see, photographs of the house. Black line drawings of the elevations are fine, but I want to see how this is all integrated in. I want to see the context of the whole project, basically, and how it fits into the site, how it blends with the existing house. I'm not so concerned as from the long distance views. Keysite 3 might be 10 years away, but even if you could just provide some photographs from points of view off site, I would appreciate that.
Of the existing house, you mean?
Well, house and site.
Hey, this is Bobby. Can I say something, Mike?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there quick question for county staff? Is there anything besides oak trees that's sensitive habitat? Do we even need to be having a discussion about habitat or trees or bushes or anything like that? Isn't this somebody's backyard? And what is the original zoning? Is it a sensitive area like the Burton Mesa, or is it something else?
Hi, this is Tina. Just the Orchid Community Plan does have protective development standards for oak trees. The plans did not show oak trees, so yes, that would be something we need to clarify if there are oak trees on the property. And the zoning is 1E1. There's no sensitive habitats that we know of mapped.
So the only thing we need to be concerned about is just the oak trees. Is that a
Bobby,
clarification?
also on this property, there's a 50-foot setback from the top of bank of the creek in there. So that's a limiting factor in there also.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I would assume that's probably part of the original recording map based on the creek. Yeah.
This works far enough away from that I wasn't concerned about that, but there is that setback factor in there.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, we're pretty far away from the creek. And also, definitely, there is no oak trees whatsoever in the property. And I'm sure about that. I mean, that's something I'm definite about, but we can, if somebody wants to take a look at it, or we can send you pictures of it. But it's mainly olive trees. And pretty much most of it is gone, the one closer to the house mainly.
Okay.
Well, thank you. I'll open up the discussion
yep.
to,
Got one more question.
Sure.
This is Jim King. Your septic tank, are you sure that your field goes downhill like that?
Yeah,
I saw that
normally
too,
the
Jim.
leach line goes down, you know, with the slope.
Normally you can't actually build them on a hillside.
No, they don't flow right. And
No.
also you have to have an expansion area for a secondary space if that one ever clogs up. Take that into account as well. Double check where your leach field is.
It is right there where I'm showing it actually, and that's the reason we left the 30 feet.
Well, there's an expansion zone. They've always made me put on plans. Like,
Yeah, you're
where are
correct.
you
That's a
gonna,
requirement, Jim.
where are you going to put the next one when this one fails? So think about that. And I don't remember if there's a setback from the original one or not. Doesn't come to mind right away.
There is. Yeah, I believe it's 10 feet.
I think that's going to end up being a building permit issue on that.
Yeah, but it's a design layout thing. Make sure that it works.
Well, at this time, is there anyone that would like to comment on this project?
Mr. Chair, we do have one speaker who is joining us via telephone. I'm not sure if this is the item that they want to speak to. So our public speaker, I know that you are on joining us by telephone. If your digits, the last 3 digits of your phone number are 587. If you could unmute yourself. If you're on a telephone, you have to hit *6 to unmute yourself. And if you're not, if this isn't the item you want to speak on, if you could just tell us which item you are here to speak on, that would be great. So if you're joining us via telephone, if you could just hit *6 to unmute yourself, introduce yourself and what item you're here to speak to. Mr. Chair, I think I'm just gonna leave that open right now. I'm not sure if our commenter is walked away or is just having issues unmuting themselves, but I think we could probably move on.
Well, I mean, I want to thank you for your presentation. You're agendized for conceptual review only. So we won't be making any decisions on this. We would, take our suggestions to heart. We are going to require, site photos. We will require photos of the house for context with your patio cover and retaining walls. Go back and discuss with your owner some of our comments. If you're able to soften that wall or lower the wall in any way, that would be great. And we look forward to having you come back for another conceptual review.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time, sir. All right, so at this time, we'll move on to agenda item number 2.
Hey, Mike,
Yes,
before you move to item number 2,
Yes.
you get 3 hits on the deal. If they bring them back, if you bring somebody back on another conceptual, I mean, I don't know if they're going to come back on conceptual only, but then you leave one time and they come back on final, preliminary and final. So I just want to caution about asking them to only come back for conceptual.
David? Hey, David.
I'm here.
So, I mean, there was a lot of discussion about the height of that wall. There seemed to be a lot of discussion about discrepancies of what's there and what isn't there, context as far as materials were concerned, photographs that are required. I mean, to me, the suggestions that we made would absolutely require him to go back and discuss this with his client. You know, having said that, you can't really come back for conceptual preliminary, right?
Yeah, that would be my opinion too.
I mean, you can only come back for, I mean, based on the discussion we had, I would think that he would have to come back for another conceptual review. And then because of the project itself is a retaining wall and a patio cover, that I think that we can do, provided that he gives us all of the details that we're going to require for approval, that he can come back for prelim final.
Right. I mean, you can do it that way. Certainly, you can combine levels of review. I mean, certainly. I mean, if it's up to the board how you want to do that. I mean, you can certainly agendize it for further conceptual preliminary if the applicant wanted to go through the it's risky because you would invest a certain amount of money in drawing this set of plans of the detail required for preliminary approval.
Right.
And certainly, and I think that's probably what you guys are saying. You probably don't want to go that far unless it's going to work. But you could always agendize it for if the applicant was insisted for conceptual preliminary. That doesn't provide any sort of obligation on the board's part to grant preliminary approval if that's the case. I think what I'm hearing is you just don't want to steer the applicant in down a path that may not work and where they invest a lot of money in the plans.
David, could I ask if 3 strikes is always the rule for residents depending upon what triggers it? Does that also have something to do with how many times they have to come back?
So I would defer to the NBAR planner on that one. We can certainly pull up the bylaws if you like.
Well, yeah, look into that a little bit, I think. But this wasn't triggered by just an aesthetic review of the house. It was the Ridgeline rules. And I don't know if the Ridgeline rules apply to the 3 strike thing.
Okay.
This is Holly Owen. We can try to do some research on that and get back with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then if you can work with the applicant and get him, I mean, I'd really like to see it for another conceptual review. Only because, yeah, he's going to invest a lot of time and money in for a prelim type submittal. So please, Tina, if you can make contact, that'd be great, and let him know, kind of lead him along, if you will.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for all the comments today.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to agenda item number 2, BAR 00123 Central City Materials. As indicated previously, I will recuse myself for this particular item.
All right.
Bobby, you have the calm.
Oh, goody. Who's our applicant? We have our applicant on?
Tom Martinez is here, and David
Welcome, Mr.
Schwank is
Martinez.
also in attendance.
Good day to y'all. You want to go ahead and present your project, Tom?
Well, can I have staff put the site plan up?
This is the planner, Ben Singer. I can put it up if you prefer. I don't have any problem with that.
Please do.
Give me just a second. you'd be able to see it now.
The applicant, Central City Materials, is proposing a 5,600, approximately 5,600 square foot prefabricated metal building in an industrial area. Actually, it's the triangular section between Mahoney Road and Bed Arabia Road that you see there. Immediately to the west is Health Sanitation Services. And to the north is vacant lot. It's actually the southern side of the nursery. I'm drawing a blank on the name, I apologize. Immediately south across Mahoney is some industrial truck businesses, CJ Trucking, and there is a little bit of residential off to the southeast corner, right there where the little cursor is turned. I'm not even sure what the name of that street is. I believe it's E Street. But there's a couple dozen residences, I believe, in that area. The basis of the operation is a chip seal slurry system. And what they propose to do as for circulation, what they do is have trucks come in, load up with this chip seal slurry material, and then they go out and distribute it throughout the county area. The proposal for circulation is to come in off of Mahoney Road, right turn into the driveway that you see in that southwesterly corner of the lot. They'll drive up the left side of the building. That's the scale, two-lane scale that you see there. Immediately to the left would be basically just a bypass lane. And then the proposal would be for them to exit out the northerly driveway and then go either, east or west for distribution. They have 4 or 5 trucks of their own that would be parked in the larger parking area of the lot to the east of the building. The building itself, again, it is depicted on sheet A 2.0. Again, very, very simple, basic building. It pretty much is the same style of all of the buildings that are immediately south and where all those trucking concerns are, and health, sanitation, everything. There's 4 or 5 different facilities, Johnson Trucking, Bedford Recycling to the west, that all of those are prefabricated metal buildings. Immediately north of the building, depicted in that most easterly elevation, are the various tanks for their emulsions, their material, their slurry materials. I'm not privy to the exact process. David Schwenk's been working with the client on that portion because that does trigger some APCD issues and concerns. But the tanks basically become a function of, gravity of the weight they need, the product they have. And the tanks are basically proposed to be unscreened. And so one of the things that we have proposed for the landscaping, and it really is a spin-off of what we did when we developed the Bedford recycling facility down this road a piece. BAR and the county was really concerned about the storage of materials. And so there was a very heavy buffer of landscape screening around the property. So we kind of took the basis of that to, develop some of the screening around the building, because again, it's pretty tough to hide all those tanks, and they're basically just doing what they can to maintain them under the 35 feet. I believe in their Madera facility, they have a couple of tanks that are 45 and 50 feet. But the height limitation here in the county is 35. So, they've just changed the configuration of the tanks to accommodate that height restriction. But that's pretty much the extent of it. There's a small office area inside the building for administration. There's a small break room for the drivers. And 2/3 of the building is basically just warehouse space. They have some of their motion equipment inside of that building also. But that's basically all we have for presentation. If there's any technical questions about the processing, David Schwenk has been working with the client on that, but it is a very basic chip seal slurry operation. Thank you.
Is the current lot empty? Is any of this?
Actually, yes, they have, it's got a gravel, it is completely fenced. There's a gravel base that is covered, most of it. I was actually at the site yesterday because we did get incomplete letter from county planning. So there's some items that we, obviously need to respond to. So I was walking the site myself yesterday. It is basically completely covered with gravel. It looks like a class 2 gravel base. Right now there's, I think, 3 or 4, looks like roll-off containers in the parking lot. If you drive by the site, it's deceiving because it looks like there's 5 or 6 trucks that are on the site. But if you go back to the site plan C1, on the easterly side, there's actually a corner or a triangular piece that is also fenced, and there's 4 or 5 trailers that are parked in that little wedge.
Remind me, is Betaravia and Mahoney, is that a stop sign? 4-way stop?
It is for the Mahoney, the transition Mahoney to Betaravia. If you're coming up, let's say driving to the east off of Mahoney, that is a non-signalized. The only stop sign, if you're coming on Betaravia, if you're coming from the west, and I apologize, I probably should have shown that a little clearer, but if you're coming from Betaravia, you basically are going to come into somewhat of a T onto Mahoney. That's where the stop sign is if you're going to turn right to Mahoney or left to continue on Betaravia.
Thank you.
So Tom, I know this is somewhere really close between the city of Santa Maria and the county. Can you maybe clarify where the
line is? Betaravia Road.
Oh, okay. So that area that you mentioned where the trucks are currently being parked there in the little,
right there. Yes.
Who actually owns that property?
I'm honestly not sure.
Could that be part of the county right away? It's not a separate parcel though.
This is Ben Singer. This little triangle part is a separate parcel. I can pull up the photo mapper and check the ownership if you'd like.
Okay. No, not right at this moment. But
I know one of the issues that came up on the incomplete letter there, it mentions concern about it being used for storage, something to that effect. And that was one of the reasons I went out there. And, is it being used actively for storage? Like I said, I think there's 4 roll-off containers at the far west end of the property, but there's a lot more storage that is occurring on that little triangular piece than it is on our entire site.
Interesting. One other question, Tom. I know you mentioned it's an emulsion. I'm assuming it's a petroleum-based emulsion.
That is correct.
Have you determined if it's flammable?
Oh, that would be a David Schwenk question. He's been dealing with all of those materials and the various applications to the various departments. David is muted. He is on, but he's muted. So I think we have to ask if he could be unmuted.
Well, the reason I'm asking is would be a potentially a spill containment issue. And
yes, absolutely. There is a containment curve around the tank section that is on the north side.
Mm-hmm.
That entire area is the tanks are sitting within a concrete containment area.
Okay, that abuts the building. there on the south side.
I'm sorry, say that again?
So the spill containment area runs across the face of the building on the south side?
No, north side of the building.
I'm sorry, you're correct. The north side of the building?
Yeah, yes, yeah. Where that tank battery is, that entire tank battery is within a containment area. We've actually not determined the actual depth of what that containment is, but that would be built up to satisfy any regulatory standards.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, definitely check into that, because my guess is it's probably going to be a little higher than what you currently have it depicted as.
Yes, yes.
And then the second question is the same material stored inside the building in those tanks? I noticed on the floor plan, you have some tanks specified inside the building.
No, and again, that would be a David question.
Because if that is a flammable material, then you're probably looking at an H occupancy in there.
This is Ben again. I don't show David as muted, but I can't hear him. So David, if you can hear us, I think you're having issues with your microphone. The storage on the inside is different materials. I don't remember if it's flammable or not. I don't believe most of it is. It's hazardous for various other reasons, but I don't remember seeing anything marked as flammable or combustible, but they will require hazardous materials plans for EHS and fire.
Muted you and we still can't hear you.
Well, those are, I mean, that's not really something in our purview, Tom, but just an awareness question.
I have a question for you, Tom. It's Bobby.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a specific color in mind? Are you guys going to try and match the tanks to the building to kind of minimize the impact of them, or are they just going to be standard white?
They actually have in their Madera facility, there's some of them that are basically just, that off-white. There are actually some of them that are stainless steel that we indicated to them that might become an issue. Obviously, they would like to get, natural colored, well, again, the standard tanks, it would come stainless steel and the basic white. But I want to say that's probably one of the reasons that we want to screen it so that we don't have to try to treat all those tanks or screen them with another bigger building that's, basically going to be a lipstick.
One other question. Go ahead. Go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that after being around that whole area myself as much as I have, it's pretty heavily industrial stuff, especially waste management. I don't think it's out of keeping. I know, our purview is all architectural, we probably don't need to concern ourselves too much about what's actually in the tanks. Most of those emulsions are water soluble stuff, so they're probably not highly flammable. But it looks to me like if they were, the tanks probably are built a certain way, and whether they could be painted the same color as the building to minimize the impact. That's a question for Tom probably as he goes through the process. But overall, I don't see anything that is blatantly out of context with the rest of the industrial area up and down Betaravia, between Betaravia and Mahoney there. So just wanted to throw that there.
Well, actually walking the site yesterday, as I was looking at what health sanitation visual was, I thought this might be an improvement to try to hide that stuff. David Swank actually just walked into my office because he still can't hear, or you can't hear him. So he's here in my office. If there's any questions, I think he might have a little bit of background on the materials that were in those tanks inside of the building.
Hey, Tom, one thing before David gets on there. Speaking of context, next time, can you show us photos of surrounding properties, health sanitation to the south-north intersection?
Oh, absolutely. Matter of fact,
and maybe even if there are other tanks.
I actually did that yesterday, but I didn't have enough time to put that together so that's, I don't have the skills personally to get that up on my screen. But I did take photos yesterday and I can get them to staff for the next meeting.
Yeah, and also if this is just an idea, photos of tanks that are like this, that have been used a while, do they get all nasty looking? Are they clean on the outside? You know, how do they work?
I have a set of photos that we had him send us of their Madera facility, which has been there for about 15 years. And I can actually share those because you can't tell whether they're brand new or they've been there 20 years.
Okay, good. And they're probably going to need to be blended in somehow color-wise. You choose.
Okay.
Oh, and Tom, the only other comment is I think the notes note that the roll-up service doors are to match the wall color, but you've indicated them as a brown color. So just maybe I misread it, but I think it was number 10 there on the roll-up doors.
Oh, correct. Miswritten.
Are you intending them to be brown or to match the wall color?
Brown.
Okay. Okay, I personally have no additional questions.
Anybody else from the board have any questions? Comments?
No, the only way to evaluate this building is to see context, the buildings around it.
Buildings around it. Oh, yeah, not a problem. Like I say, everything around there is a prefabricated metal building, and we will get you shots of those for the next hearing.
It's the neighborhood.
Bring a couple pictures of Bedford Enterprises. I think you're right, Tom. I think it might help improve things just a tad.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So, are there any comments from the public?
Mr. Chair, so we have the same person from last time, who's our member of the public who's joining us from phone. So if you're joining us from phone, if you hit *6, you can to unmute yourself. You can provide comments if this is the item that you want to comment on. Let's just give them a couple seconds. This is if your phone number ends in 587.
What was the gentleman's name? I'm sorry.
It just shows up as a phone number. When you call in via phone, it just shows up as a phone number. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're just have it on in the background or if they can't quite figure out how to unmute themselves, but I'll leave it open in case they are able to figure it out. But I don't think that that's happening right now. So I think we could probably move on.
I apologize for my ignorance. What are you agendized for right now? Conceptual?
Conceptual.
Thank you, Tom. So no other comments from anybody on the board, and I think you got a couple of questions to answer just about the tanks and final colorations, and after that, I think I'm good with conceptual.
Just a quick question from Holly Owen here. Did you discuss anything about the landscaping, or is that considered satisfactory according to the plans? I didn't.
The only comment I would have on the landscaping is perhaps those trees should be maybe 24-inch box. Maybe consider some of them to be at least the red iron bark. The 15 gallon are pretty small, but maybe Kevin can weigh in on that.
Kevin's recused from this item.
Oh, okay.
I think
that explains it.
I think that they, the landscaping they propose, there's a trade-off between buying a bigger one and screening more at the beginning, and buying the smaller ones and having them grow more vigorously, since they haven't been in a pot quite as long. So, but we'll have to get somebody's input on the screening. But if the overall project stands visually the same as the rest of the surrounding area, then the screening is more of a added extra.
Well, my comment was not to question the size other than just the fact that it would give it a little bit more of a immediacy to the visual impact.
I'm sorry, repeat that, Steve?
I wasn't questioning whether or not that the landscaping was adequate. I was just suggesting that maybe some of those being 24-inch blocks would give it a little bit more immediate impact rather than, I mean, the 15-gallon trees they're only about 3/4 inch trunk. They
Right,
look like a
right.
twig. So that was my only comment.
Okay. If there's no other comments, then I guess that takes care of that issue. And
Is it possible to come back in a month for preliminary?
I don't see a problem with it. Does anybody else?
I don't see a problem with that either.
Jim?
No, just work it out with the planner.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Okay, our next item, do we got our chair back? Mike?
Working on it. All right. So Kevin and
Okay, I'm rejoining.
All right.
All right, let me get back to the agenda.
Do that. They never do a preliminary during consumption. They always wait till every
Hey, Tom, you're still, I can still hear you. Okay, thank you. All right.
We
moving
weren't
on.
talking about you, sorry.
Well, yeah, my ears got hot. Moving on to agenda item number 3, BAR 00034, the Signia new family, single family dwelling. If you'd like to go ahead and introduce yourself for the record, we'll go ahead and begin.
Yeah, this is Kevin Glassman. I'm the designer working on that single family residence. It's a 1,200 square foot single family residence on a 20-acre lot. And we have already gone through conceptual, preliminary, and were requested from our last round voiced to request for final review and approval for this meeting.
And you've added the barn into this one, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Well, why don't you go ahead and this is not the first time we've seen the barn.
No, it was shown last.
It was shown the last time,
meeting.
right? Okay.
Correct.
Let me pull up. Is staff available for this item?
Mr. Chair, I think that the planner is online. There we go.
Great. So let's go ahead and do a quick review on the residence, and then we'll take a look at the barn and make sure everything's ready for approval.
Okay, sounds good. So in your top left of your screen, this is just a perspective view of the home that's sitting on the lot. It's a gently sloping site. Once again, it's a 1,200 square foot single family residence. As we go down, this is the survey, just showing where it's located on its site and the property. It's very central. An aerial view, partial site plan, a little bit closer, just showing. And then this is the floor plan, really showing the layout of the home. Is this what you're asking for? Just a quick walkthrough?
Yeah, I think, some of the only concerns that, as I remember, was, fire department access for both the barn and the single family dwelling. You had mentioned before that this is you are going to do a bigger house on the site in the future. So
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we were covered for that as well, as far as access for fire department was concerned.
And yeah, in this drawing and also in our drawing above, we're showing here, I'm scrolling to it now, just for the fire access and that there's enough turnaround. I think it's the hammerhead turnaround is being shown. Yeah, so you can see, if you can see my cursor, it's happening. And then we're showing the 2 required parking spaces. The barn is located on the northeast corner of the site, if you can see. And just to show the barn, this is just a quick plan of the barn roof plan, showing each of the elevations. So you got the north, the south, which will look the same, and then the east and the west will also have the same appearance with these large barn doors. Just a section going through each direction. And then this is the floor plan of the primary residence.
Now, we've reviewed this several times. I think you've done a good job as far as the design is concerned. Does the board have any comments on this project, or would you like to see specific plan sheets?
I just have what did you decide to do about the siding? What sort of siding are you using on the house?
Yeah, so there is a material, so this is just a quick study of the material of the home. So it's going to be a vertical wood cladding, and then it would be a standing seam roof and proposed matte black fiberglass door finish.
And that meets the fire requirements?
Correct. We would specify a treated wood that would be fire rated.
Okay. We talked a little bit last time about the siding of the barn, and you decided not to change it. And it's fine with me, but it just seems like rotating it parallel to the slope gave you more flexibility. Could just explain the siding for me? Not that it's a demanding change, but the back door kind of exit out onto a slope, and there's no turnaround space for a car. And it just seems like you need to think about it a little bit more for usability, but I like the barn.
Yeah, we definitely heard and considered that. We still currently are liking the way that it's oriented, just how it's placed on the site, and the access from the west side is a primary access. So we do understand that question or concern. However, we still have the desire to keep it in its current orientation.
Okay.
And that west side is going to be ingress and egress primarily?
Correct.
And the east side is just for symmetry or?
Yeah, it's just meaning to open up the space for natural light and air to get into the space, but the west side is the primary access point.
Does anyone have any other comments, or would they like to see specific sheets on this project?
Are you using the same wood on the barn that you're using on the house?
Correct. That's than 10.
What are your fascias made of on the barn, out of curiosity?
Currently, what you're seeing is it would be the same cladding that goes up, and then it would only be the top of the standing seam roof with a flashing.
Huh. Interesting.
Okay, so does the board have any comments on this project at all?
Looks fine to me.
So then,
I like the way it's evolved. I'm happy with how it all turned out.
yeah.
Thank you.
So, not having any other comments do we have any public speakers on this particular project?
No, our one public speaker has exited, so we don't have anyone, any public comment for this one.
And staff is satisfied with the presentation?
And
Could we see pictures when it's done? I want to see what it looks like. Promise?
Yeah, you
Yep.
can just email us some pictures. So at this time, with no other public comment, no comments from staff, and no comments from the board, I'll ask for a motion to approve this project. And
So
bestow
moved.
final approval. Second,
Okay.
all in favor?
Approved. Yes.
Aye.
2, 3, aye. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you for your time and efforts. It's going to be a good looking project.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, seeing as that is the last item on today's agenda, and no further discussion off topic, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Please.
Second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bye.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
See ya.
Have a good weekend. Thank you, staff. Thank you, David.
thank you.
Thank you.